My father was born Muhammad Ali Akmal Shamsi in 1974 in Lucknow, India. Now, as you can tell by my father's first name, Muhammad, he is Muslim. Now, being Muslim in India means that you're going to face a lot of discrimination. And as my father grew up, that became more and more evident. Anti-Muslim riots, Islamophobia, and widespread Muslim killings plagued North India during the late 20th century. It was this increase in hatred towards Islam that convinced my dad that he had to leave India in order to pursue a better life. Now, what better place to pursue a new life than America, the land of freedom and opportunity where the poor and the oppressed can find their freedom, where the adventurous can find their fortunes. My father wanted to pursue the American dream. Unfortunately, it wasn't as easy as he thought. Immediately after finishing high school, my father started medical training in India. He then went to the American embassy where he applied for US citizenship. By getting up early in the morning and waiting in long lines for hours, my father barely managed to even start the process. After months of waiting, my father received the decision that his application for a visa was rejected. Undeterred, my father applied for a second time, all the while still a med school student. And for a second time, his visa was rejected. So still undeterred, my father applied for a third time, all the while still a med school student, so getting up early in the morning, pestering embassy agents. My father's third application was also rejected. So for a fourth time, my father applied for an American visa. When he finally received the letter of his application decision in the mail, my father was excited, but he was also nervous. So he opened the letter, and the letter read that his visa was rejected. So successfully deterred, he stopped applying for American visas and reluctantly accepted that immigrating from India to America wasn't going to happen. He continued on with med school in India until something happened that changed everything. On December 6th, 1992, my father was on a train heading home from med school. This was on the same day that a riot of 150,000 people illegally destroyed the Babri Mosque in the neighboring city of Ayodhya. It became evident to my father that a large number of the men on the train were enraged and heading to participate in this riot. They were armed with all sorts of weapons, pickaxes and swords, and my father feared for his life, as he had no idea what these people would do to him if they found out he was Muslim. Just someone saying his name would reveal his identity, and he was scared that that would happen. When the train finally reached the platform in Lucknow, my father was met by his mother standing on the platform in tears. News of the destruction of the Babri Mosque had made its way into national news instantly. Following the demolition, India was engulfed in months of violent and destructive protests, resulting in more than 2,000 people being killed, most of whom were Indian Muslims. Following this event, my father knew that he had to make a decision. Should he remain in India in the familiarity he's lived all of his life in, whilst facing discrimination, or should he pursue a better life outside of India? This was my father's fork-in-the-road decision. Stay in the easy route and remain dissatisfied for the rest of your life, or pursue the more risky, more dangerous and difficult, yet far more rewarding path. Ultimately, my father knew that if he had chosen to stay in India, this decision would haunt him for the rest of his life. He would constantly be thinking about what his life could have been like had he left India. So since my father couldn't go to America, he tried going other places, and he managed to go to Europe, in Wales. He continued his medical training in Wales. He met my mom, my parents married, and they became doctors. Now that they had developed a bit of a reputation for themselves, they decided to try for immigrating to America once again. Only this time, they were accepted. On July 4th, 2004, my parents landed in Missouri on the only airline that would fly them with my mom 8 months pregnant. So that's the American dream. Working your whole life whilst facing discrimination and oppression to get to America and then landing in America on the 4th of July. That's the American dream, And that's the story that I've grown up my whole life hearing and believing in. The story is what solidified my belief in the American dream, and it's what pushed me to work harder in life and strive towards an overall higher quality of life for myself and for others. But recently I've come to realize that belief in the American dream is waning, and that people don't believe in the American dream like they used to. And when you analyze why this is the case, you come to see that different demographics in America view the American dream differently than others. And there's a variety of reasons why that's the case. For example, with regards to race, Hispanic Americans are far more likely to believe in the American dream as compared to Black Americans. Roughly 1 in 6 Black Americans state that they don't even believe that there's such a thing as the American dream. Now, when you analyze the history of Black people in America, you can come to see why that's the case. Due to historical and ongoing systemic racism, Black people have faced unequal opportunities, such as unequal access to housing, employment, economic opportunities. In addition, Black people have also faced unjust and disproportionately higher rates of incarceration, resulting in more criminal records, and thus making it harder to achieve that upwards mobility and success. Now, with regards to age and political affiliation, you can see that younger people and Democrats are far less likely to believe in the American dream as compared to older adults and Republicans. Now, younger people are less likely to believe in the American dream due to economic challenges and social inequality, such as higher levels of student loan debt, a more competitive job market, and lower wages. In addition, a growing awareness of social issues makes it seem as if the American dream is just unattainable. Now, for political affiliation, you can see that roughly 62% of Republicans believe in the American dream, while only 35% of Democrats do. Now, Republicans tend to have a more optimistic view of the American dream, with many believing that hard work and determination are the key factors in achieving success. This is why Republicans emphasize the importance of individual responsibility and free markets, arguing that government intervention can hinder economic growth and an individual's growth. Now, Democrats tend to be more skeptical of the American dream, with many arguing that systemic barriers are simply just too strong for a hardworking and determined individual to break through. It's not that Democrats don't value hard work and determination, it's that they believe some of these systemic barriers, such as racism, economic inequality, lack of access to health care and proper education, that these barriers are simply too strong to break through for some individuals. Now, what's interesting is how American exceptionalism can play a role in influencing the beliefs of people in the American dream. American exceptionalism is the ideal that America is inherently unique and superior to other countries. Now, Republicans tend to have a more optimistic view of America and the American dream, so naturally, Republicans generally believe in American exceptionalism. Now, Democrats are also more skeptical of American exceptionalism and can view it as a form of nationalism that can blind social issues and problems that are within a nation. So, why do I tell you all this? Well, America truly is the land of opportunity. The American dream represents the possibility of achieving success and prosperity regardless of where you come from. And although it won't be easy to achieve this success and prosperity, it most certainly is possible. The decision to immigrate can be a critical fork in the road in an individual's life. And while it may be intimidating to take the harder path, through determination and perseverance, it will undoubtedly be possible. Before Jeff Bezos founded Amazon, he worked a job on Wall Street. It was a good job. He made good money and he had a good life. But he knew that he was capable of more, and he wanted to live a better life. Even though he was already happy with what he had, he knew that he could do more, and he wanted to do more. So he wanted to start a business. But he realized that you can't have this job and run a business at the same time. It was one or the other. This was his fork in the road decision, and you can compare it to an immigrant's fork in the road decision similarly. Had Jeff Bezos decided to continue his job on Wall Street, think about how much that would have changed our lives. I mean, the way some of the people at the school use use Amazon to receive basic resources. I mean, what would happen if Jeff Bezos decided to not take that risk of starting his business? A life without risks is far riskier than one without. Because we need to take risks in life. How else can we grow? Thank you.